Good day, welcome to Nuuspod, and in our series about the coming elections, I'm talking to the leader of the DA, John Steenhuisen. John, welcome to the Nuuspod studio.
Thank you, Izak. It's great to be with you, and great, of course, to be with all of your fans and listeners around the country.
So I'm going to talk to you in my best Free State English, and hopefully everyone will be able to understand that. John, it's election time in many ways. It is going to be one of the most interesting municipal elections we have seen since 1994. How ready is the DA for this one?
Yeah. Izak, I mean, we're really ready for it, and we've been ready for this election for a very, very long time. We started campaigning since the beginning of the year, fully expecting an election at this time of the year. Other parties were convinced that they were going to succeed in laying the election. So we always knew that the election would be this time of the year. And so that's why our posters are up, our pamphlets were ready, our deposits were paid, and our candidate lists were in at the IEC. We're a party that gets things done. And in this instance, we were able to get those things done. So we're more than ready. And we believe this election has to happen this year, and had to happen this year, because far too many municipalities can't wait literally another few months under their current administrations, unless so that we can change things here and start to deliver services and ensure that we rescue and liberate those people from the clutches of corruption and maladministration.
John, I know that political parties do their own number crunching ahead of an election.
Well, I don't share the internal polling in public, but we're certainly looking good. And as I've said consistently from the beginning of the campaign to various journalists, to various publications, I think the DA is going to do a lot better than the analysts like to say. Every election, we've got political analysts who write the DA off and say that we're going to be displaced as the official opposition by this party and that party, and this party is going to take our votes. And every election, we prove them wrong. And I've no doubt this election is going to be the same. I think that the DA is going to do very, very well across the country, because I think voters are looking for, particularly at the local government level, a party that doesn't just make promises, but has a record of delivery. You're going to have no end of parties and independent candidates making offers and making promises and pie in the sky things. What we have different is that we're able to put a record of action where we've governed and set out a prospectus for how we are able to deliver more.
We will get back to that just now. I just want to go back to the number thing. In an interview with Daily Maverick, you set your goal on 24%, which is much higher than some analysts give you, as you have just said, but still nearly 3% less than what you got in 2016. Commentary on that?
Well, I didn't say 24%. Our Maverick wrote that. I said that we want to do better than the 2019 election, which is the most recent election, in which we had a few stumbles. So anything above that 20.7, I'm going to be happy with. Of course, we want the DA to be as big as it possibly can be. But the analysts have, some people have put us on 17%, some even lower. And I'm very happy that they do so, because, it allows us to be able to prove even more people wrong when those election results come out. So I'm going to be happy with anything that's above 20.7% in the polls, because that shows then that we've consolidated support and recovered from the 2019 elections. I think it's very difficult to compare the 2016 elections with these elections. It's a different lifetime and a different era. We were in the height of the Zuma must fall movement, the ANC's internal battle for the heart and soul of the party. It was raging. There was a big move against Zuma. And so, the opposition was able to capitalize on that. This is a different environment, and it's a different election. I think it's very difficult to compare that. But what is going to be interesting to see control of municipalities, and how many municipalities we're going to be able to get control of, either on our own or in coalitions.
John, I spoke to Darvish Scholes last night, getting some predictions from him for the elections. And according to him, this is going to be a very, very low turnout at the ballot boxes. how do the DA see this play out in a scenario like this?
Well, I think that low turnout elections always give an opportunity for opposition parties to do better, particularly if we're able to get our opposition voters out onto the streets. So you end up then with something called a differential turnout, where as an opposition party in a low turnout election, you'll be able to turn out a greater percentage of your supporters. And I think this is a huge opportunity for the DA. I think there's going to be a lot of disgruntlement within the ANC around the way the list processes have been done, the way in which their candidate selection ward candidate selection has been done. And so I do think that we, coming out of the registration weekend, and I don't know if Darby traversed that with you, but we were the clear winner in the registration fight. We were able to register far more opposition voters. And I think the opposition is far more energized to vote. People sitting in towns without electricity, without water, with sewage running down the streets, with businesses leaving the town, those are the people that are going to be voting for change and looking for a party that gets things done. And I think the DA fits that mold absolutely perfectly.
You make a point about that every time you speak, and I've watched you going through the country, showing out what you come across. Tell us about that and what the DA's alternative is.
Ja, wel, ek dink die groot probleem in Suid-Afrika is nie by die groot stede nie. Die groot probleem in plaaslike verkiesings en plaaslike regering is by klein dorpies en rondom die hele land het ek gesien daar's dorpies waar die munisipaliteit is in beheer net op papier. Daar's geen dienslewering, daar's geen riooldienste, geen waterdienste en daar's groot werkloosheid in daai munisipaliteite. En dis die storie van plaaslike regering rondom die land. En ek dink dit is 'n baie groot probleem want dit ook gee baie druk aan die stede want as mense kan nie werk kry, kan nie dienste in die klein dorpies en op die platteland, dan vertrek hulle na die groot stede. En dan is daar groot probleme met behuising en dienste ook. So ek dink dat as ons die probleem by plaaslike regering wou beter maak, ons moet begin ernstig en hard te werk in ons klein dorpies en daai regerings. En ons plan is om daai klein dorpies 'n boodskap te stuur dat jy hoef nie in 'n dorp te bly waar jy sit sonder water nie. Jy hoef nie te sit waar Eskom sit die krag af want die munisipaliteit het nie vir dit betaal nie. En daar is 'n alternatief en daai alternatief is 'n party wat maak nie beloftes nie, maar het baie goed gedoen in klein dorpies in die Wes-Kaap, maar ook in plekke soos Modimogapongo en Limpopo, Kouge in die Oos-Kaap, waar ons baie goed werk gedoen in die regering van klein dorpies om seker te maak dat die krane bly vol, dat daar's krag in mense se huise en mense het 'n geleentheid om werk te kry want werkloosheidssyfers is heelwat laer in daai munisipaliteite waar daar skoon regering.
John, then there's also the question of coalitions that will be the big thing, bigger than even before after this elections. The first shots were fired between the DA and the Freedom Front Plus seems to be fighting for the same voters, but most probably going to be coalition partners after the elections. Some comments on that, please.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I think that all parties now go out and make their case, and we're all trying to get as many votes for ourselves into the box as possible. And I've made no bones about it. I want a clear majority, a DA majority where possible, because that is the best way to turn a municipality around. As we showed in Cape Town, it was only when we got our own majority there coming off the back of a 8-party coalition that we were able to really start turning Cape Town into the world-class, best-run metro in the country that it is. And so what we've seen in Tshwane is very difficult. It's very difficult to run a minority government. It's very difficult to run a coalition when you've got 8 different hands on the steering wheel. And that we're making the case that if you want the DA difference, give us a full 5-year term with our own majority and then judge us after that. But that being said, I'm not opposed to coalitions. And I've been very, very clear that we will form coalitions where we don't have a clear majority with parties that share our 4 core values of non-racialism, respect for the rule of law and the Constitution, a social market economy, and building a capable state. And I think there are a number of parties that tick those boxes. One party that obviously clearly doesn't tick those boxes is the EFF. And that's why I've been very clear as a leader. We've learned our lesson very, very well from what happened in Joburg and other places. And it's just simply not possible to make a coalition work with the EFF. We also won't just go into places and govern for government's sake and for power's sake. Unless there's a clear plan to turn the municipality around, unless there's a written coalition agreement, unless the values and principles are agreed, we'd rather go onto the opposition benches and be a very, very good opposition in those towns. There's only one thing that's worse than losing an election, and that's winning an election and governing badly. And I think the election lessons we've learned over the last 5 years have been very important for us to understand what circumstances we'll go into a coalition for and what the red lines would be.
Yeah, I think that was quite a lesson learned by all political parties. It's better to oppose than battling to rule, because we've seen it in some of the metros there.
Yes, absolutely. And it's impossible to govern and say that you're a clean and accountable government. And this is why I come back to values and principles and why they are so important. Some people say, oh, well, you must bend your values and principles. No, that's the worst thing you can do. And we saw in Joburg where Mashaba became the mayor and then started dancing to the EFF's tune. Land invasions, there was a blind eye turned to them because the EFF told Herman Mashaba that they wouldn't support his budget. That Herman Mashaba allowed the EFF to get involved in tenders, the fleet tender there that's been the subject of huge reportage. And what that does is undermines your proposition. And the worst thing you can do as a party is to betray your core values and principles, because then people don't believe you about anything else you say. So it's absolutely essential that those values and principles are at the center, the core. En hulle is die kern van wat jy wou doen in die munisipaliteite. En dis die dinge wat mense moet sê, at die einde van die 5 jaar het hulle gedoen wat hulle gesê hulle sal doen at die begin van hierdie veldtog.
John, the DA was accused of not having an identity through the last 2 years. It seems that you have managed to reach some sort of stability, but yet there's still the perception that you are a party only for white people.
Well, look, I mean, let me be very clear. The DA lost its way in 2019 and the voters sent us a message. Hulle het ons 'n baie duidelike boodskap gestuur en sê, ons weet nie vir wat jy staan en vir wie jy staan nie. En so ons het 'n keuse om te doen. Ons kan luister of ons kan net aangaan. En ons het 'n keuse gemaak om te luister vir wat kiesers vir ons gesê het. Hulle het vir die DA gekyk en sê, wat is hierdie party? Vir wie veg hierdie party? Wat 'n toekoms vir hierdie party? And I'm very glad that we've been able to, through our policy conference and through the leadership election, been able to re-establish the DA at the rational center of South African politics and a party that believes in non-racialism, in respect for the rule of law, fighting for the Constitution, making sure we have a social market economy, and not trying to be an ANC light. Also, what we've done in this election, you may have noticed, is focus on ourselves, not the ANC, not our opponents, focusing on what the DA's offer is to South Africans. We say we get things done, and we're using examples where we govern to show people that we get things done and back up that unique selling proposition. In terms of the perception, it's a very unfortunate perception, and it's certainly not true. If you look in the DA's front benches in Parliament, you see people like Siviwe Garube, Zach Mbele, many others, Angel Kanyile. If you look in our leadership structures of our party, our top 6 is the most diverse out of any top 6 of any party in the country. If you look to the left and right of us, the top 6s of the EFF and the Freedom Front are monochromatic. We've got black, white, colored South Africans together there because we believe passionately in a non-racial future, which is also why we've this week welcomed over 30 members from the ANC in Pietermaritzburg. We've welcomed a former EFF member in Limpopo who said that only the DA is a party bringing people together. It's very easy to put South Africans into little camps of language, culture, and race, and then try and get them to see a common enemy and drive people into these little lagers. What the DA is trying to do is bring all South Africans together around that common set of values and principles. And that's why over 53% of people who vote for the DA are not white South Africans, that our leadership is the most diverse of any party in the country. Our parliamentary benches are the most diverse of any party in the country, where we're bringing Afrikaans, English, black and white, Sotho, Xhosa, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, all into a center party that's going to be able to be a roadblock to the ANC's attempts to take this country to Venezuela.
So when we wake up on 2 November, where do you predict the DA will stand?
Well, I'm certainly predicting that the DA is going to be at the very center of a realignment of politics in South Africa, and that we're going to exit this local government election with momentum that's going to be able to allow us a platform to build towards 2024. The ANC is in big trouble, and we must not lose this opportunity to really strike a hammer blow against them and bring them below 50% in provinces and national in the next elections. To do that, I want the DA to wake up on the 2nd of November in charge of a number of municipalities with our own majorities, to be running stable, values-led coalitions in a number of small towns across South Africa, and being able to use the next few years to show those people, not to tell them, to show them that life gets better where you vote the ANC out and where you give the DA a chance to govern or lead a coalition to govern you.
John Steenhuisen, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure to be with you, en baie dankie vir die geleentheid om alweer met jou te wees, Izak.
Nuuspod, onbevange, onbegrens, onbevooroordeeld.